If you will, join me in today's sermon reading. It will be from Job. Back to the Old Testament, to Job chapter 23. Job chapter 23. And of course, a lot of you Bible scholars are fretting and worrying now that we've gone to Job. Oh my goodness, more than Job is a wonderful book. Let's not discredit all that goes on in there. And I think a message that is, I'm going to say this. It's good for me, and this is what God has given to me to be comforted and to be inspired even. And so if He gave it to me, since I've got nothing, I'm going to just give it to you, okay? So from Job 23, I want to read two verses. Job 23, verses 8 through 10, excuse me. It reads this. It says, Job is saying, "Behold, I go forward, but He, God, the Lord, behold, I go forward, but He is not there, and backwards, but I do not perceive Him. On the left hand, when He is working, I do not behold Him. He turns to the right hand, but I do not see Him. But He knows the way that I take, and when He has tried me, I shall come out as gold." May God add His blessings to the reading, the preaching, the hearing, and the application of His Word to us today. Today, the lesson from Job, I think we could state it this way, and I think we have all at some point in time felt this way. This lesson from Job is, where is God when I need Him? Where is God when I need Him? And I've walked with a lady, a dear friend of mine at school, who has received just the worst news concerning her brother, whom she's very close with. And she's been hashing it out with God and arguing and that sort of thing, as we all have at some point in time, is where is God when I need Him? But let's maybe, as we truly know who God is and the ways that God is, maybe it's better stated, hey, let us, you and I, let us work on gaining understanding of God's love for us and His work in our lives. Now, those two doesn't sound very much similar, but they are very similar. And I pray that you'll trust me in this as we unpack Job's story. And I believe a lot of ways we will be unpacking your story, as I know that I certainly intend to unpack mine in front of you. So, in gaining this understanding, hey, God, where are you when I need you? Maybe it's time for us, maturing in our faith, to understand, hey, God, let me see what you're doing. Let me understand truly your love that you have for me and what you are doing in my life during this difficult trial. So, Job's story. Job's story is this. Job lives where we live. He lives in a fallen world. Okay? There is this fallenness and this falling nature that we have here. And we are in a fallen world. Please don't think that that's some sort of surprise. And if you open your eyes, you will see that that's not a surprise. That things are definitely, this world is not our home. We are now sojourners just passing through to our home. But while here, we're in this place, okay? This is the place where we made, all right? And the choices that we made brought about this fallenness. Now, I do have to understand you, or help you to understand, that yes, we made the choice. Humanity made the choice. Our representatives were Grandpa Adam and Grandma Eve. They made the choice for us, but we agreed with their choice, okay? Don't blame them, because if it wasn't them, I think it would have been one of us. I know it could have been me. It would have been me. Okay, so we made the choice. We made the choice. Humanity made the choice. Now, the thing is this, we can't blame God for that, because here's what God did. God created us in His image. And the part of that image is that he has made us free. And with freedom, he made us free to choose. And if free to choose, you have to have choices. And they were presented to us, good and evil, obey, disobey. And of course, obviously, you know which one we picked, and we've been paying for that ever since. But then here's the beautiful thing about God is that even though we chose wrongly, selfishly, with no regard for him, understand that he works even in that system that he knew about, that he knew he was going to make. He even works within that system to redeem us through his love, through his grace, through his mercy, and by the power of his Son, Jesus Christ. So even in the plan that he put together, where we messed it up, but he knew he was going to mess it up, but yet he still trusted us and entrusted in us, and so therefore gives us the opportunity to now again choose rightly, or for him to direct us in the right choice. So there we have it. Job lives where we live. Okay, so everything that is written in this book of Job that definitely applies to us and can apply to us. Okay, so as we look at Job's story, we see, if you know Job's story, and I'm going to have to, I'm going to give a little brief synopsis because I don't know exactly where you are in your study of the Word. On the surface, it seems a little different than what I just shared with you. Okay? It seems that Job is being punished even though he has done nothing wrong. Remember, Job is a fallen man, lives in a fallen world. But as Scripture does speak to us, Job is managing that. He's dealing with that. He is working within that because he is a righteous man. Okay? That's where it states us. Now, we look at Job's story, if you know Job's story, that he's being punished for doing nothing wrong. You ever felt that? You ever felt that God, things are going rather swimmingly, and now the wheels have come off? I have heard the news, and the wheels have come off, and I've done nothing to create that. You ever felt that way? Well, Job's going to help us to deal with it. Because like I said, here's Job. Job is a rich man. But he's a rich man that he understands he is blessed by God. Job 1:1 at the beginning of Job tells us that he was a righteous man. It says this, that Job was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. Now that sounds like a pretty good guy if you ask me. Okay? Sounds like a great guy. And here's the thing too, if you read further on in his story, in the beginnings, the introduction part, we see that he practiced righteousness because he offered sacrifices to his God, which was the form of worship for the day, and he prayed for others. It even states here that, listen, I'm going to do a sacrifice to the Lord, and I'm going to pray for my children just in case they have sinned and didn't know it. Okay? I mean, that's just the way he was. I mean, he's a great dad. He was a great guy. He was loved in his community, respected in his community, blessed in his community. And in the heavenlies, where we don't know everything that goes on, here comes Satan strolling into the thrones of God and states this. He says, listen, consider your servant, or what about your servant Job? If you take all of this stuff away from him, if you rip him down, he's going to curse you. He's going to curse you. And so God said, here's what we will do. You have at Job. But it wasn't you have at Job because he will show you that he is faithful. He said this to Satan because God said, I will show you that I am faithful and that I can produce my faith in others. Okay? So the quick story of it is this, is that all of Job's wealth was taken away. His thousands of livestock, camels, and that is listed, are all destroyed, carried off by an enemy, even destroyed by natural disasters. His family, he had a multitude of children, they were all destroyed. And then finally, in the next verse, it says, as Satan appears to God again, saying, well, listen, sure, he's you took all his stuff, but he's still healthy. Take his health, but you can't take his life. And Satan takes his health. And the results are these. From Job 1, verse 22, it says this, in all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. And then after his health was taken away, and even in the presence of his wife was begging him, saying, listen, why don't you just curse God and die? It's apparently that you've done something wrong, and this evil has come upon you. But in that results of his health being taken away, from Job 2, verse 10b says this, in all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Job remained steadfast in his faith, regardless of circumstances. Okay? Many a famous saying we get from Job. With nothing I came into this world, with nothing I will leave this world. Okay? And then that God does what he chooses, and that sort of thing. And so Job is kind of hanging on to his faith, and then his friends come. Now, I do need you to understand that Job is stricken. His health is stricken, okay? To the point where his friends come in to comfort him, to advise and to counsel, but they don't even recognize who he is. He is so disfigured and so scarred and so wounded that they can't even recognize him. And they sit for 3 days in silence, just not even knowing if their friend is there, and their friend is there in front of them the whole time. So Job is in bad shape, all right? We'll just call it that, okay? And so the first thing out of the friend's mouth, all of them, is, hey, Job, you must have done something wrong for all of this to come upon you. Okay? Now, it appears that to be our natural tendency. Okay? Even in jest, we'll say stuff like, hey, I've heard this one, when there's a long dry spell, y'all might want to take heed to this one. If there's a long dry spell, it must be because you're not paying the preacher properly. Okay? Now, I've heard that one, so I'm telling you, if it gets dry this summer, maybe I can help. Maybe you can help. All right? But we pick up a lot of information or saying, or is our natural tendency, it appears to be our natural tendency to reason or to inquire or to suggest or to blame when we give counsel that something is wrong because you've done something wrong. Now, I don't negate the fact that God doesn't punish, okay? God disciplines his children, okay? But sometimes to justify our own activity, we, the victim, I'll use the word, we blame God too. We'll lash out at God. Tell him he's wrong. You got the wrong guy. You done the wrong thing. For I am not deserving of this. And then when we counsel others, my friend is not deserving of this. And we lash out. Now, I believe that to be true because of what we just read in John 9. In John 9, his disciples are with Jesus, been with Jesus, and they happen upon a blind guy. Oh, this guy, his state, bless his heart. Poor guy, he's blind. What brought about his blindness? Was it his parents' sin or his own sin? Well, Jesus corrected that and said, listen, it's neither one of those. This is so that I may show you the works of God. And so God has been showing us his works from Job's day back on up to Adam and Eve, the day of the patriarchs, all of that day, all of this, God has been showing us that the way I can get through to you is to refine you, is to prune you. Refining requires a lot of fire. Pruning requires a lot of cutting. So there is going to be trials that come in our lives. And I don't want to jump ahead since I've got you in the palm of my hand. Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Job's wife says, why don't you just curse God and die? And Job's friend Eliphaz comes in and says, Job, your wickedness is great. You've got us all snowballed. And this is Job's response. Job's response. Before I give you Job's response, let me give you some information, maybe even some kudos. Even when you give counsel and it's wrong counsel, God can turn that around and make it so. So from John 9, even though our questions as counselors, or when we're plagued, or when we question ourselves, the thing is this, what it really leads to is a lot of self-reflection. It leads to a lot of seeking, maybe even confession, repentance, or maybe, as we're looking today, perspective on our own fallenness. And then perspective on the greatness of God. Keep that in thought, okay? But Job's response is to his friend Eliphaz, who comes and tells him, says, Job, your wickedness is great. And Job then, it appears, begins to reply, well, okay, these guys are saying that I've done something wrong. I've done something heinously wrong. I've done something wrong deserving of this punishment that you have placed on me. So God, is there anything to this? Where are you? Where are you when I need you? I go forward, but you're not there. I go backward, but I do not perceive you. I look to the left when you are working, and I do not behold you. And I turn to the right, but I do not see you. But Job comes to his senses. But you know, he knows the way I take. He knows me more than anyone. You know, and when he is done with me, when he has tried me, I shall come out as gold. And that's the faithfulness of Job. There is, listen to this as I give it to you from the New Living Translation. I like the way it said it. I saw it, well, let me give you a little background too. I saw this in the New Living Translation, but I saw it in a devotional that I get every day. And this devotional is from a woman who is just, she's in the middle of a cancer battle. And in the midst of that, just less than a month ago, has lost her rock. Her husband suddenly died. And yet she keeps and continues doing this devotion. And she writes for us in this devotion the New Living Translation from this passage. And it says, I go east, but he is not there. I go west, but I cannot find him. I do not see him in the north, for he is hidden. I look to the south, but he is concealed. But he knows where I am going. He knows where I am going. And when he tests me, I will come out as gold. So my friends, don't be afraid of the trial. It's not fun, I agree. And since we are in this all about me and entertainment-driven society that we live in, that's tough for us to swallow. I do understand that. But our relationship, our connection to God is based on faith. It's based on faith. For by grace you are saved through faith. The thing that we as human beings bring to the equation is faith. And I want you to understand that this is God's faith that is implanted in you, that he must grow in you. And the way to grow it is to refine it. And to refine it is by fire, as by trial. Faith never grows unless it is tested. And so I want to do this. I want to illustrate this faith growing in personal testimony. Okay? If you will allow me, another 10 minutes or so of just personal testimony where, number one, I think for us to grow as a people, you've got to learn to trust in me as your pastor, as your leader. And so here's another layer being peeled off. I was young, and I was the pastor of Boger City Baptist Church. And I had that pastorship kind of just thrust upon me. All right? And I was the pastor. I was young. I was exciting, vibrant. God, let's roll with this thing. And guess what? We rolled with this thing. And we, at one point in time, I said this jokingly, but truthfully. I said, we laid the league in all the categories that they keep of the South Fork Baptist Association. We were top 10 in things of discipleship, of budget. We were top 5 in membership that we had of our church. And we were top 1 for that year in baptisms. Baptized 42 people that year. My last year at Boger City. And God took me away from that. And as he took me away from that, the only thing that I could think of is me being King Nebuchadnezzar sitting on the wall, looking out at his kingdom and saying, look what all I have done. And God said, let me test you and try you and remove you. And he removed me. And I preached my last sermon at Boger City Baptist Church on that last Sunday of June, whatever year it was. But I preached my first Sunday at Freedom Church on the first Sunday of July. I and a few with me, and some of you that were with me then, we went and we established Freedom Church, which is a vibrant church downtown Lincoln and even today. And I was the pastor there. And we've done things a little differently. We've done things that we invoked here. We went within a more reformed theology, a more elder-led congregation. Allow the congregation to be protected by elders, while the congregation, the only thing you have to really worry about is worshiping God. All right? We'll take some of the heavy decisions off of you. And we've done those things, and we grew, and we flourished, and we were vibrant until... Hang on. It's still growing and it's still vibrant. But as far as I'm concerned, for me, a day came where my wife decided she didn't want to be my wife anymore. It was out of the blue. It was a surprise. It was a shock. And she left me. And as much as I loved her and loved being married, and I'd waited 36 years to get married. But then this came upon us. It was just the life in a fallen world. And I was eventually divorced. Many of you know that feeling. Okay? You know where that is. You know the pain that it can be. But upon that divorce, I think the elders of our church just didn't know what to do with the divorced pastor. We're right in the middle of we're in the buckle of the Bible Belt. You can't have a divorced pastor and do any good. And so they decided, or the reason given, and I don't blame them, I'm just telling you here's how it all fell out. That you obviously did not rule your household well, so therefore you're not holding to the requirements of an elder. Therefore, we're going to have to let you go. And they did. So 2011, I believe it was, the first part of it, I lost my wife, and the last part of it, I lost my church. And I probably said something on the lines of, God, I have looked forward, backward, right, left, east, west, north, south. Where are you? So, with that situation in my life, I had a lot of time on my hands. You know, didn't have a wife to look after anymore. Didn't have a church to look after. Of course, in that, didn't have a job either. So I had time on my hands, and a friend of mine invited me on a mission trip. This was a mission trip to Paraguay. And, of course, my friend still had some faith in me, obviously, and said, hey, do you want to go on this mission trip? I still had a lot of friends from that church, and I reached out to them for sponsorship, and it was taken care of. So off I go to Paraguay. Now, mind you, those of you that have been in my situation, you understand it thoroughly. But those of you who have not, once I was now divorced, I began a year of being mad. No. I began a year of being sad. What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Maybe if I was younger, maybe if I was thinner, maybe if I was richer, maybe if I was this, that she would still love me. All of these things kept adding to my sadness. Then after that, I spent a year of saying, ain't nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with her? What's wrong with this situation? What's wrong? And I was mad. I was angry. And so I spent a year being sad, then a year being mad, and then this opportunity came. And I promise you this, I went to Paraguay, and I tried my best to be agenda-less, because I wanted the Lord to speak to me, and I really felt that He was going to speak to me once I got rid of all of the trappings, and even one of the trappings being an American. Down there, I'm a Paraguayan. I don't know anything. I was stripped down to bare. And I was down there, and I was like, is God around this corner? Maybe He's around that corner. Maybe if I keep all of my options open, it's almost to the point where, hey, you want to do this? Nope, I don't want to do whatever you say, because God, I might miss His blessing. I was a little bit even paranoid. But while there, early on, it was an opportunity for us to journal. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you, I hate journaling just about as much as I hate reading. All right? You guys that are connected with Southlake, don't send any information to them that I'm not a reader, although I'm not a reader. But I'm not a journaler either. So we had downtime, and we were journaling. I think I was lapping on a cot, napping. But I was thinking really hard. I said, God, where are you? Where are you at? I said, I've come to another continent to find you. I said, where are you? I said, have you not seen what has happened to me? I have lost my wife. I have lost my church. And I'm wandering around here aimlessly. And I don't know what to do. Where are you? Are you realizing any of this? And the Lord spoke to me. It wasn't audible. It was just this understanding. And God, for lack of a better term, said to me, through all of that you've gone through, I was with you every step of the way. I was with you. I know all about it. And I was holding your hand through all the fallenness that this world had cast upon you. And so, after that, my sad year's gone, my mad year's gone, and my year of recovery began. And my year of recovery turned into a decade of recovery thus far. And I'm sure it's going to turn into more recovery. I have told people this. I have told those of you that are closest to me of this congregation and of other areas that my divorce, as painful as it was, in one way, it's the best thing ever happened to me. Because it turned me wholly, solely, 100% dependent on God. I am his servant. As marred and fallible and pitiful as I am, he has brought me in to be his son. And I realize that. I live a life now of contentment. Am I content with everything? Certainly not. But I am content with the end thing. Because my faith has been challenged, honed, pruned, chaff burned away, to the point where I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will come back for me, and he will not forsake me. And by the way, the rest of that Paraguayan trip, man, I was like a fiend working for the Lord. Man, I built a church single-handedly down there, you know. I don't know why you people are here. Why are we stopping? Just because it's dark? That's no reason to stop working. And we built a church that is sitting down there today as a light in the darkness of a community of my Paraguayan friends. I still get messages from them. There is still connection there. We have come together. I looked for the Lord, and he found me. My search was valid, but it's he that found me. All the places that I looked for him, he came to me. Tried me and is refining me. And at the end, my friends, I will be pure gold. The end's not here yet. Y'all still seeing a lot of the rust. But he's still refining. Now, that is where the deliverance began. And as I said, in Paraguay, you know, I was a fiend for God, if there can be such a thing. And then we went home. And we come home. And here's the second lesson that I got out of this. We were coming home, and I began to be fearful. I said, God, we had such a wonderful time down here in Paraguay, but I'm going to return home to the financial difficulty. I'm going to return home to the difficulty in the broken relationship that has its issues. I'm going to return home to not the position that I was. So what am I? Who am I? If I'm not a pastor of a church, then what am I? I'm going to return to all that. And man, I'm telling you, the fear just started mounting up. And, you know, in my life, how can it be? I am so troubled. I have so many problems. And the Lord showed himself again in the airport. I don't even remember what airport it was. Pretty sure it was Miami when we headed back. And I'm walking through, and my group has done gone on ahead, and I'm intentionally wanting to be alone with my thoughts and my fear. And as I struggled to just walk in my fear of God, look at all of this that I have to now face. There come alongside of me a mom. She was a fairly young mom. And she was pushing in a modified wheelchair what I assumed to be her daughter. Young girl, probably 8, 9, 10 years old. And she was pushing her in this wheelchair that is seemingly, it seemed to be as long as this pew, because the girl was laid out flat. And every hookup that you could imagine was hooked to this little girl. And Mom was pushing, at the same time dragging all of the machinery that was keeping all these wires and hookups working. And Mom was pushing all of this and dragging all this through an airport. She even walked by me because I'm walking in my sadness. And she passed me by. And I saw that. And when I saw that, and I still see the image in my eyes all the time now, and I said, thanks, God. I don't have any problems. Comparatively speaking, I don't have any problems. I don't have any trouble. Forgive me for bringing this up. And the Lord delivered. And the Lord delivered. And He has brought me to where I am. He gave me a position of interim pastor that I was able to help a church transition into being a church. And now I know of them having their own building, having their own place, and worshiping the Lord and being a light in our community. I got a position at South Lake Christian Academy where I was able to make enough money to support my family, and where I was able to mix and mingle with the folks I like best, young people that are searching and looking and wondering. And in some way, I hope that I've been a help to them, and I still hope that I am a help to them. But then as I told my friend Eric Bartell, I said, boy, it sure would be nice to be in the saddle again. And probably 2 or 3 days after I said that, Jim Monaghan called me. And the rest, as they say, is history. You know? And as flawed and mistake-ridden as I am and will continue to be, there is still the refining. Because in the end of it, in the end, He knows the way I take. And when He has tried me, I shall come out as gold. Our faith is tested by God to draw us closer to God. He knows what He's doing. God is always in control. God has the best for you, even when it doesn't look like it. So let us do this. Let us fervently seek God. Forward, behind, to the right, to the left, to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Let us seek Him. Let us seek Him, my friends, and let Him find us. Let's seek hard and let Him find us. Seek the Lord with all of your heart so that He might find you. Trust Him to know what He is doing with you. There is no flaw in our God or in His plan. Trust Him to know what He is doing. And have your faith grown. Now, growing comes with a degree of pain. It comes with a degree of pain. They don't call them growing pains for nothing. Have your faith grown by whatever means necessary to come out like gold. To come out like gold. Refined, precious, strong, of great value, sought after, just like the refiner intended. Let's think on these things. Let's think on these things. And you know, I don't have any doubt that my portion of personal testimony that I just gave, you have it too. You've been there. You've done that. All of this that Job has experienced, you've experienced to some degree or another. But Job came out. I'll just send you home and tell you to read the last chapter of Job. All that he had lost had been restored. All that we lose will be restored. And we will be precious like gold. Think on these things. God bless you all, and thank you so much for your attention.